Hello again, and it's time for another project. Quite a large one for me, this one. It measures in at 4'7" or 55 inches on rough old fencing wood. Now the idea is, obviously we've got the saying there, or the quote, even broken crayons still colour. Basically, we've all had our trials, and we've all been basically kicked in the teeth, but we get up and we thrive forward. I don't want to go too deep, but we've all been damaged, but we can all come back and we're all worth something. So for me anyway, that's going to be near enough, and I'll leave it at that. So the idea is to route out all the black sections here, removing all the black letters, and the actual fencing wood itself, which is 6 inches high, or across should we say. And we're going to turn it into one big crane at the end. So you can see there we've already roughly drawn on a bit of design on the paper that would go around the crayon. Then we'll route that bit down gently, slowly should I say, a little bit, and then we'll cut that section out, and that will be the end of the crayon. And we'll paint it all a nice orange, red, yellow, or how we feel, and the same at the end. Once I've shown you this little bit, we will pop this phone of mine into a tripod so it won't be all over the place. But basically there's our design. We put our paper on, as always for me, popped on some painter's touch tape, and I like to pop in a bit of carbon paper underneath, nice fresh stuff, nothing like this one. And if you draw around it, I do find a pen works better for me, only because I can see it against the white paper like so. And we draw all the way around it, and that will transfer your image nicely onto your wood there, like so. So the idea today is to remove all the inner sections. So we're going to remove all this here. I can just find myself, and all around here like so. If you want to take 2 minutes to mark off the bits you want to remove, it will save a lot of trouble afterwards. You don't want to go away, come back and start taking the background on this one. So these are inner cuts, inset lettering. If it was outset, we will remove this. And remember, when we route out, we want to route out up to the line and up to the line like so. Not on the line itself. If you've got a small section like this, if you're going to route out on the line there with your CNC bit, and on your CNC bit, by the time you've done either line, you would have narrowed this section in the middle. So you want to be up to that line there, and up to that line there, like so. You'll see it as we go along. We'll just mark off the bits that we want to remove, just in case. Remember, we're going to take all that out, all that, and so on, so on, so on. And a little bit along there. Right, I'll pop this back in the tripod, and hopefully it'll be more steadier. Right, to do all the line work, you might have heard me mention there, and I do like to use these little CNC bits. Nice eBay specials. They come with different degrees. These are 20s and 30s. There's 10, 15s out there. The degree being just the angle of the cut at the end. There's not a lot in it, and personally myself, by the time I've cleared out with my end milling bits, or whatever bit I prefer to use, are we going to get it today? Are we there? There we go. So that's the angle of that cut there. Personally myself, when I've cleaned it all out, it's just a straight flush end for me. We're not that overly concerned. They have a small shaft on, a 3.175mm. They will fit a Dremel no problem. And if you have the little Dremel with the router attachment, you can use these straight in your Dremel. But for a 1/4 inch router, you need what they call an adapter collet, a reducer adapter collet. There again, just a little tube like so, and that will just slot in there nicely. That 3.175mm shaft has now become 1/4 inch, or 6.35mm. So that will fit your router no problem now. So we'll use this around all those lines here, just inside the line, remember, for all the lettering. Once we've done that, we'll start off with the end milling bits. I use these on all my videos, and I love these bits. And they're again just eBay specials. We can get one that's probably a decent size. That one looks a bit burnt out, so we'll move along. These fit the same adapter collet. We'll set it to the same depth. I'm going to work on 3mm. I normally do on most of my projects, and then we will just use that to remove all the inside of the lettering. If it's a little bit slow, we do have some nice fancy straight flush bits there. which I've used on one of my projects previously, if I remember rightly. All these have never been touched. These will be far too aggressive. If you get a big one like that and try to use it on here, something big chunky thing like that, you'll catch something and that will break that off no problem. So obviously you should go a bit delicate. So even though the bits look small, you've got less chance of breaking things on. So just take your time. We might get away with something, a smaller one like that. These have a 1/4 inch shaft on them, shank, so that will fit your router no problem. And it's small enough that we'll be able to get inside there. But we'll start off with the end milling bits. And if these don't get mentioned again, we obviously didn't use them. Right, 3mm for me. I made a little gauge like so. You can buy depth gauges, and it is the same depth as your CNC bit. Spin it around, number 2 we use here. That is the same thickness. That is plenty deep for these projects like so. I have done deeper projects. Be careful with your router bits. Don't go in at 5-6mm. You're as well going over it a couple of times and just nibbling away at it slowly. Okay, for now we'll pop in the CNC bit into the adapter collet. We'll pop it in the router. We'll sit the router on top of our piece of wood here, and we'll set it to that depth of 3mm and basically start doing all inside the letters. Okay, let's start this one now. Right, we've gone all the way around this one, all the letters anyway. I'm basically going to try and focus just on one word at a time, because if not, I'm going to be moving the camera around all the time. There's nothing worse. But if I can just slowly, you can see from there, we've done all the rest there. And obviously we go all the way down there. I just don't like too much movement when you're filming, like you're on the Titanic or something. So we'll keep it just one word at a time. So we've gone around all the lettering. Remember, you can just inside, so you can just more or less make out the pencil lines here. Now it's a bit rough and ready at this moment in time, but we'll certainly, hopefully, sort that out when we go in with the little end milling bits here. So it's just a simple case of removing your CNC bit. You will get a lot more projects out of that. And we're literally just going to slot in one of these just to get us going. We can set it to the depth. You notice there I've removed some sections. So we can pop it in there, set it to the same depth, and basically start removing the remaining sections. Personally myself, I think it'll come off fairly quick. If it's a little bit too slow, we might pop on one of these straight flush picks. But like I say, I think we'll get away with this. Right, let's pop this in and basically start removing the rest of these sections for the old piece. Right, we've gone all the way round with those end milling bits. That's cleared out really nice. No need for those straight flush bits. We'll save those for another day. So there's our lettering nicely done. Now the next stage for me, we've got these sections there at the end. These are basically just the pattern design that you would get on the paper that goes around the crayon. Now you could save yourself a lot of trouble by just painting that black. And then when we come to do the orange crayon or whatever we choose, we'll paint the paper there. Paint, 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 and then it would be the nice orange tip of the crayon going down there. But just to make a little bit of work for ourselves, I'm just going to route these sections out. Will be very minimum, maybe a mil or so. I've done a little sample over here, you can just about see it. That more or less would be the depth, just to say that we've routed it out. And then we can pop our black paint in, same with the lettering, and then just sand over the old piece, and that should leave us some nice little design there at the end of the crayon. And obviously moving to the other side, we'll have the same effect on there as well. So we'll route these little sections out next, and then we're looking to cut in the end of the other end. Right, so we've routed out the actual pattern on the piece of wood. Like I said previously, there was no need to actually route this out. You could have just taped it off and painted on the actual design. But for me, we just made a little bit more work for ourselves by routing it out, and that's fine. And obviously done the same at the other end of the crayon. Now the next stage for me on this one, I'm literally going to cut out this section here. This will be the point of the crayon. Cut that out on a scroll saw. Nothing too fancy there. Then once that is done, I'll lower this section now, which would be the end of the crayon coming out. This section would be the paper. It's a bit complicated when I try and explain it. So you've got a pattern, you've got the paper that wraps around the crayon, you've got a piece of crayon coming out, and then it lowers down again to the actual point. So this level will be routed out to the same depth as that, just minimal, just so you can see. And then this one will lower down even more, and we'll try and bring it to some kind of rounded pointed bit. But for now, I'll literally just cut it out quickly, then I'll come back with the router, we'll lower this, and then we'll lower this section. And obviously because we've already cut it out with our router, there should just be enough room there to be able to skim off the edge. If we find it is rocking a bit, we can just slide these two pieces back in again, and that will give us more of a surface to work on. But I'll do that bit quickly, and then we can move on to cleaning it all up, a general tidy up, sorting our letters out, and a nice bit of sanding down. Let's cut that tip off first. Right, so we cut the end down, should I say, with a little Pegger's spiral blade. So nothing fantastic there. Probably one of the easiest cuts we've ever done. So now we've literally got to lower this section down here. Be a couple of mil, 3 mil, 4 mil maybe. And then we'll lower this section here by the mil, the same depth as that. So remember, this is all the paper. Paper would come to the end of here. So it goes down a couple of mil, and then it goes down, and hopefully to a nice point. Now to route this one out, I'm just going to show these straight flush bits. These are really cheap on eBay. You get a pack of 7 of different sizes for, I think I paid less than £10 here in the UK for those. Like I say, eBay or Amazon. I've already got it set in the router there, like so. You don't need the adapter collet. They're quite aggressive, so you just got to be a bit careful. So we'll skim over this one, see what kind of depth we've got. And remember, we've got to go over that one just by 1mm, so you get the 1, 2, 3 layers effect. But let's just skim over this quickly. Right, hopefully you can see from that we've got the general idea of the point on the crayon, which will finish there. Then we've got the paper that surrounds it, then the design, then all the lettering right to the end. And obviously we have the same design on the end there, bit of pattern work, end of your paper, and then the end of the crayon showing through. Now I just want to give this a general tidy up. I do apologise for holding the phone all the time, but it's the only way, unfortunately, I can fit it in my little shed. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a clean out on these letters. It doesn't require a lot. Those end milling bits do make a nice smooth job of it. Personally, I'll just use these little cheap engraving bits of eBay on the end of a nice flexi cable here. As you can see, nice flat bottom, and we'll just use that to go inside there, give that a nice tidy up. Good bit of sandpaper as we go along, and a nice mouse sander, fresh bit of paper. I don't know what that is, it's like a 60 grit, might be a bit strong, just so we can round those edges off, give it all a general tidy up. Now there is bits for rounding these edges off. I've got a case full of them, something like that, and you could have put that into your router and literally gone across around the edge like that if you wanted to. But for me, a little mouse sander, just enough to take it all off. So nice general tidy up. Then when we come back, we can look into the painting side of things. Okay, so we've gone in with the mouse sander. We had the little engraving bit on the end of the flexi cable, and we finished off with a little bit of sandpaper. So we've more or less got all our lettering all finished now, right through to the end there. There's plenty to go at, and there's our end of the crayon there. And we've rounded the ends off there slightly. There is different bits out there if you prefer to do something else with it, but I'm quite happy with the way we're doing so far. Right, let's look at the painting side of things. So for painting, it's going to be good old painter's touch paints. I've got no problem with these outside, they work fine. All the lettering will be done black. We're going for an orange crayon, so we'll have orange, just enough in there I think to do the end and the tip at the other end. And then we'll see what it's like once we've sanded it down. Remember, we're going to put the black in here first. We can just really just throw that in, sand over the full piece, and then we're looking to maybe having the white paper on here. So we just use a white paint, or we might just drop a little bit of orange in, just so it's a slightly different shade to the darker tip and the end of the crayon, if that makes sense. Now on certain woods, you've got to be careful. There is wood sealants out there. Or you could spray a bit of varnish on this first, just to seal those side walls in. We don't want a lot of paint to bleed into the sides. But as we are painting the full piece, it doesn't really matter. And I must admit, with pine or fancy wood, I don't have a lot of issues. So it's just a simple case of filling this in, get a nice stiff enough brush, and we're just going to brush it in. Remember, if you prefer to spray, you could spray this. just as easy. Making sure we get all those side walls done. Basically just do that through the whole piece. I might have to go over this twice, but we've got plenty of time. I will take this inside now, make myself a nice cup of coffee, and then we can just take our time at our leisure. Let that first one dry. It does dry really quick, this painter's touch. If this was out in the sun, this would be dry by the time I get to the other end, I can guarantee you. So if you prefer to spray, by all means spray. I've always liked the brushing side of things. So that's it. We'll do all this, speed things up. I'll put the sanding in between, and then add on the colours as we go along. Okay, let's start filling this one in. Okay, just before we reveal the finished project for today, I just want to show you one of these little T-slot bits that I've put into the back of the piece itself, just for hanging purposes on the fence. They're called T-slot bits. The idea is you put your router in, you route out your line, and then when you put your screw in, you can pop it into that and then slide it onto the project, and hopefully that will hold it all in place. And the tighter you put your screw into your fence or wall, the harder it will be to push on. So you get a really good bond with that. And I've done two on this piece, one there and one down the other end, just so when we put it on the fence, there'll be no screws showing or anything like that. What I do personally is do a couple of samples on a bit of scrap wood of the same depth, but how much you've got to play with the bit itself in there. And I will keep this one for further references. I mean, you can just pop your router bit on there like so, to hit the bottom, lock it in position, and there's your little slot there. You know that's your little bit done. I'll just get it out. There we go. And that we just simply just pop on there and just route across, route back, and lift it out nice and gently. And there's our little section there. Obviously, the bigger the screw, the better, dependent on what you want to use. They do come in different sizes and all. And there we go. That will just slot on nicely, and that will fit on the fence, no problem. Right, this project's finished. Let's spin it over and see what we've got. Okay, that's it. This little project is finished. Now it measures in at 55 inches long by 6 inches wide. Obviously, it's too big for my little workshop, but we managed something. I can just show you the end piece here. So there's the end of our crayon. You can see the nice shine there that we sprayed on some of our 151 varnish, and we've basically got exactly the same with the other side. I can just flick it round without damaging anything. There's the other side, and there's our crayon nicely sticking at the end. Now remember, we routed these sections out just so we've done it, and it makes the front bit more interesting. You could have painted it just as easy. I painted the sides there, and you won't be any the wiser. Now for hanging purposes, little T-slot bit, just router slit in there. We'll put that on the fence and then slide this project over, and I can guarantee you that will lock onto there, no problem. I'll just spin it around again. Sorry for messing you about. There's something just fallen. Right, and here we are back again. And that's our full little project finished. Now remember, we use the little CNC bits for all the lines, the little end milling bits. I will put a description, the links in the description, should I say. And I did use a straight flush bit just to show you them working on the actual tip of the crayon itself. And the little T-slot bit for doing those slots there for hanging purposes is something like that. I'll see if I can find those again. eBay or Amazon for me. And then for painting wise, good old little painter's touch. These are great little paints. I've just ordered a load more, so hopefully they'll be in the post soon. And for spray wise, just some multi-purpose white gloss finish. That is not the one you're looking for. 2 seconds. Oh dear. It would be the one that fell on the floor. And there's our clear lacquer finish to finish with. And that's it. This little project is finished. I'll take it outside so we can have a better look at it. But for now, thank you for watching. Just a great little plaque. Even broken crayons, still colour. No matter what kind of bad day you're having. Sometimes you just feel a little bit broken down. You're still worth something. And you can still colour with the rest of us. Okay. Thank you very much for watching.